Hi, Shannon here. I am so excited to bring you today's interview with Jessie Torres of Fierce Grace Transformation. She is just as passionate as her name suggests. When you listen in, you will be able to feel the passion coming from within her, and you will feel inspired to make some changes in your life to really be your best self. So tune in. Get ready to be inspired, and I'll see you on the inside. So, Jessie, I know how amazing you are because I've actually had the pleasure of meeting you in person and getting to hang out with you and go back and forth with some ideas. But for anybody who doesn't know you, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
You bet. So what do I do? Well, I am a wisdom guide. And the reason I use that term is because we know there's a lot of coaches out there, and I did go through coaches training. I was a coach for the biggest coaching company in the world. However, what it's come to at this point in my life is more of a guiding system where I'm able to access, all the years of learning in my life and the things that I have done to allow people to come back to themselves, to come back to their truth, to their power, to their beauty. And so in my journey of being in a place of complete apathy and, not wanting to be a part of this life anymore, to have climbed out of that and gotten to a place where, I love life every day, and I plan to suck the juice out of it for the rest of my life, that there's something in that allows me to give to others to be able to find that same pathway, that maybe, just maybe, all of the pain in their lives was there for a reason, to give them passion, purpose, and ultimately profits so that they can live abundantly and fulfill their dreams.
I love that. I love that so much. I tell people a lot that your pain becomes your superpower. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you're helping people harness that superpower.
100%. And, societally, whether it's our parents, our teachers, or even, like I said, society, they will not want you to recognize that. It's like we stay so stuck on the pain because it hurts, right? But the pain happens. It's a part of our human experience. However, when we suffer in it is where we lose our divinity, where we lose our sense of self. So part of where Fierce Grace came from is really finding that part of myself when I had to kind of look back and go, okay, so what did I do? Like, what was my journey? There's so much in personal development now, so many books to read. We got the internet, everybody's doing a seminar that, we're regurgitating a lot of things that we're seeing out there. And I didn't want to be a regurgitation of what I learned. Now, it's awesome. We all want that wisdom and that mentorship. However, I was like, what is my journey? What is the process of what Jessie, where she was and where she got to, so that I can find value in the journey itself, in all the pain. So I come from a history of abuse with my father, and then an 18-year marriage that was very abusive. My older brother was murdered when he was 29. My younger brother has been in and out of trouble since. Kind of identifying all the puzzle pieces of my life and the people in it, and, the pain points and how, I managed it or didn't manage it when I was in a very unconscious place. And Fierce Grace evolved out of finding that identity part of myself that persevered. And I always say there's this little voice inside of us that is whispering to us to, get out of bed. I don't care how upset, how depressed, how you don't want to live anymore. You're going to live another day. So just come on, let's go do this thing called life. And then we do, and we go back to our 3D game, and we're just kind of like doing the construct of going to work and taking care of the kids and doing, and then we go back to bed sad and hurt. And then that whisper comes again to get us out of bed. So I believe that whisper is really our spirit. It's our core essence. It's our truth that says you are here for a reason, that there is a construct, a purpose to all that you're experiencing right now. And if you don't look for it, you're going to miss it. And I want to turn that voice into a roar. And so Fierce Grace was finding that part of me that was able to persevere. What got me through wanting somebody to blow the red light so that I could be done with this life. Wishing, that the plane would crash when my husband went on a business trip, and then having horrible shame and guilt about that. Like, how could I wish, but I didn't know a way out. I didn't know that there was something better for me, that this was all I was meant to have. And part of that was that consistent determination to find a way. And when Fierce Grace, I saw it, it's actually from a picture of a horse that the photographer, it's a beautiful sensual picture. Just horses, I think, are beautiful. They're so muscular and powerful, but yet when they're going, they have such a grace to them. And this picture is of a horse, the top part of the horse, and it's kind of looking sideways, so you don't see its face, and its mane is blowing over its eye. And it's just a very sensual picture, and I loved it. I saw it in Wyoming for the first time and couldn't take it home because obviously it was too big. And then 2 years later, I saw it on Rodeo Drive. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this picture. I Googled it, found it, and the name of the picture is Fierce Grace. Wow. And what I love about that is that it is the masculine feminine, right? It is the power in us. It is our strength, and it is our beauty, and it's our grace, and it's our desire and ability to love and serve. And so how do we blend both and find in our deepest, darkest day, you know, that fierceness of spirit that says you're going to do this, and there's reason for you. You matter, you individually, not your version, not somebody else's version of you, but you specifically, and that every part of your pain has been to chisel you to the beautiful masterpiece that you are. And so Fierce Grace evolved, and I actually created a mantra with that name as my inner power. And that mantra got me through a lot.
Okay. I definitely want to talk more about the mantra. I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. In our society, it seems like we kind of celebrate the struggles. And I've seen and experienced in myself that there's kind of a nobility in struggling and having to push and being in the pain and having other people be able to sympathize with our pain. And then you talk about this little voice and turning it into a roar. How do you help people find the courage to be able to step out of telling that story of pain and start to actually listen to that voice?
You know, that's a great question. And I actually just had that conversation with my son because, you know, having gone through a breakup or whatever, you can start to focus on the pain of the breakup, and you can start to get in story. Oh, well, now, you know, she's going to think this, or she's going to think that, or she probably thinks this, oh my, I acted so stupid or whatever. And I'm like, you're so stuck on what should or shouldn't have happened that you're missing the gift of it. And so when we retell the story over and over and over again, we literally create more neural pathways that perpetuates the story and also the feeling in our body. And I can get into vibrationally, right? Vibrationally, we are now vibrating at a level that attracts more of it. So we start to tell this, and this becomes our truth and our emotional home. So how do we shift that? Is we recognize it, we acknowledge it. And if you start to believe that everything in your life happens for a specific reason, and that God, universe, whatever you believe, has strategically placed it there for you. Even when my brother was murdered, you know, back then, if you would have told me find the good in it, I probably would have punched you in the nose. Right? You know, there's no freaking good in this. He was an amazing human being. But it wasn't until after that I was able to, you know, find some of a box of his stuff. And there was all this stuff on personal development. I didn't even know what that was. But from that moment, I got the clarity of him handing me the baton and saying, Jessie, this is for you to do, not me.
Wow.
And part of that was because I lived in his shadows. I was very, very comfortable there. Like I wasn't Jessie. Everybody in school knew me as Oscar's little sister, not Jessie. And so, and I was good with that. I'm like, I let him lead. In fact, if I liked a boy, I'd be like, tell him I like him. You know what I would never. And I was comfortable there, but I believe there was a bigger purpose for me, and that him not being in my life, I wasn't able to hide anymore. And so I give grace and I give thanks every day for the 29 years I did have him. And now every day that I live my purpose and I'm serving someone, I believe I'm honoring his life. And so I can look at how that sucked. I can look at how it wasn't justified. I can look at how God is not kind. I can make all kinds of stories because I did. I turned my back on all of it. I was like, F you, you know, I'm not, how dare you? He was a good man. But once we step outside of the pain, start to look for the good, there always is, always. It's the part where we don't find the good in it that we suffer. And Byron Katie has a great quote. She says, you know, when you argue with reality, you lose 100% of the time. And you do, because it's like, I could say that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But it did. And for me to say it shouldn't have is arguing with the fact that it did. And that's the other thing she says is like, when we say that shouldn't have happened, she says, well, it should have, because it did. Mm. And that's just part of life. So again, it's not telling your story and re-anchoring the pain. Find the good in it. Turn that pain into purpose. I'll share with you a quick story. This is a client who came to me after the loss of her twin brother in a car accident. And she was devastated, obviously. And she had a nephew, his son, who she sent to a youth leadership camp to help him cope with his father's death. And it did wonders for him. From that moment, she came in like December. By May, she not only had joined an organization called Lost Twins or something like that. She was on the board of it. This is an organization, nonprofit for people that have lost their twins for grieving, which is awesome. But she had opened up her own nonprofit organization called I don't want to say the name. But anyways, well, actually I should, because we should honor her for it. But it was called Carponi Kids, because Carponi was her last name. And she was able, in those few months, sponsor 30 African students to send to that same youth leadership camp.
Wow.
And we were celebrating on a call, and I was like, wow, like, is this something you would have done had your brother still been here? And she goes, oh no. She goes, if you knew what was going on in my life back then, this is not something I would have ever conceived of. And in that moment, we thought, well, God had a bigger plan for you, right? Your purpose, your pain awoke in you the ability to serve all the people you were meant to. And so your brother's life was sacrificed so that you can live the purpose that you're here to live. And she
I love that. I love that so much. I was just talking to a client the other day about grief and how when you move through the grief, you can look back on the situation with love, and just what you said, being able to honor their life by doing something in their name or on their behalf, carrying that baton.
Yeah. And there's one more story I'll share with you. This is from a man that I met at a retreat. And he was sharing with me, he had a friend who is a channeler, and she reads auras. Okay. And so she goes into prisons and she reads auras, and then she helps the inmates, decipher whatever that they need. So she went to this guy who had committed horrific crimes, like really, really bad stuff. And she went in there to meet with him, and she saw that his aura was really, really bright. And she was like, I don't understand it. Like, he's done these horrible things. So she got a friend of hers who does the same kind of work and brought her in. And so she goes to meet with him, and she goes, oh my God, you're right. His aura is so bright. So they were so amazed by this that they went and found all of the people that he had victimized, the ones that were still alive. And each one that they were able to interview had done something incredible with their pain. Like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, or, had opened up something huge from the crime that he had done to them.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's almost like, oh my God. So, and then the question was, well, so what do you do with him? He's like this angel who's doing, and she says, well, no, because in this world, we put people like him in jail, but that, again, we can see it, that how tragic that was. And yes, we're not denying that wasn't kind, but if we don't look for the good, or we don't find purpose in it, like the guy that did the show America's Most Wanted, it was because of the loss of his son.
Yeah.
He now went on to, but you see what I mean? So he created this big, beautiful thing that helped serve others because of the pain and grief of his son. So this is how we can look at our lives completely. It doesn't mean that I justify my father's behavior when I was a child. I was innocent, and, it made me go through a lot. However, me forgiving him and finding the good in it doesn't justify the behavior. It just relieves me of the suffering from it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I know that comes up a lot when people say, well, I can't forgive because that's part of my story. If I forgive, it means it never happened. But I love what you just said, that forgiving gives you the power and the freedom to live your life and be happy.
It liberates you, because anything other than that is adding to the pain, and you hold on to the story. And it's like literally a security blanket. No, but you don't understand. This happened to me.
Yes, we want to dig in our heels.
Yeah, and that blame is literally, it's a redirect from finding our own divinity and our own beauty. It's like, no, I have this to blame. This is why I'm not enough. This is why I can't, hit that goal or hit that target, or I can't do this or that. And so then it keeps us in a space of safety.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't recognize it because we don't know any better. And it's kind of like, to simplify it, like I was sharing this with a client, I hit my knee on the table, on the corner table. And I'm like, oh, that hurt. Like that was so, and then the pain in my knee, right? I feel it, but then I start going in my head, oh my God, why did I leave? I knew I shouldn't have put that table there. It's so stupid. Why did I do that? I can't believe that. It's just like my knee pain's gone.
Yeah.
But I am in suffering over how I shouldn't have done that. So I'm lingering my pain by anchoring now the story around it. So if we don't stop to go, and sometimes honestly, I could find the good in that and say, oh, maybe that, I don't know, stopped me from tripping, or maybe, I don't know, or maybe you just hit your knee. That's it. Like, it's nothing more than that. There's no grand message here. So again, but there's always, I always say there's two roads that we always have to choose. And I make this funny little drawing that I enjoy, because it's very simple to put it for people. But it makes so much sense. And every single day we have a choice, not just every day, but every moment of the day. We have a choice to make in our lives.
So are you drawing this for us now?
I sure am. And so it's such a simple thing, but it really, because it's so simple, it makes it so like, yeah, you're right. This is what we got every day.
All right. So we've got depleted, disempowered, or empowered and renewing.
And we got a fork in the road, right? We're standing there in the middle, and we either walk down the left aisle and we go disempowered because it's true. I'm not saying that it's not true. My dad abused me. My husband abused me. I was hurt. I was devastated. I was blah, blah, blah. No, that was all true. But now I create a story of like, I'm shame. I'm no good. Nobody's going to want me. Or I can go into the empowered side and go, well, what else did it teach me? Well, you know what? When I was trying to avoid my father walking into my room in the middle of the night when I was a kid, I started to create traps. I started to become resourceful. I was very creative. And so I started to build all these muscles. And so, you know what? Yeah, I'm resourceful. When I need to get something done, I'm able to do that. I built that muscle having to, segue from my father. Mm-hmm. Again, it's true just as much as it's true that he behaved a certain way. What's not true is that I'm shame, unworthy, and no good. That's a story I made up.
So if it's a story, you can change it anytime, right? You can have this road, like you said, this direction. You get to choose every moment of every day.
Every moment. So anyway, again, if you have the opportunity to choose pain or love, choose love. There's a reason. This is in your way for a reason. Find the good in it. There's always a gift. Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, which a lot of people have read, is an amazing book. However, he wrote another one, and it's called Outwitting the Devil. And it is not religious by any means. But because of its title, he wrote it back in the 1930s when he wrote Think and Grow Rich. And his wife would not let him publish it because she feared public ridicule because of the title. And so it wasn't published until 2011 by Sharon Lecter, who was a part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Anyway, it's a phenomenal book. But one of the best quotes out of it is, with every seed of adversity, there I'm sorry, with every bit of adversity, there is a seed planted of unborn opportunity or its exact advantage. But you got to cultivate that. You got to find it. You got to seek it. It's there. Trust me. It's like, do you ever go through life and we say hindsight's 20/20, right? Do you ever go through and you did something, you made a decision and you're like, man, I'll never do that again, right?
Yes.
Like when you think about that, it's just like, okay, so now you recognize what not to do. And it's the same thing with the pain. What's the good in it? Right? It's like Edison, right? I didn't fail 10,000 times at the light bulb. I learned 10,000 ways not to do it. Talk about a, positive way to look at it.
Yes.
Most of us would give up and say, forget it, right? Why am I even bothering? It's just
So
like, no.
how do we do that? How do we go from the pain and these everyday instances where somebody is impacting our life with their bad attitude or their bad day? How do we find that place back to love, back to ourselves, and not beat ourselves up and not get stuck in the story?
So one of the things that's really, really powerful, and I believe it's a superpower, and it's really forgiveness. So in the essence of us feeling the pain, when we go to, let's say, the disempowered road, and we are finding all the things that hurt or all the things that's wrong with the situation, how does that feel? If it has a suck factor, I get it. Find the good, go to your heart. Connect to your heart, breathe in. What is the compassion? What is the love opportunity? What is it? I know it's not always easy, but you have the choice. If you go to your heart, let's just say an example, somebody says something that hurts you or was unkind, a best friend who did something that betrayed you or something, and you go into the story of like, that was wrong and she was mean and I'm never going to forgive her because I can't believe that she treated me that way. Just like, I believe, as Nelson Mandela said, we are all born in love. We were taught to hate. So we can come back to love again because it is innate in us. So if somebody behaves in a way that hurts you, what if they were suffering even more than you? How can you find compassion? It doesn't mean that you stay at their bullseye, right? To be treated even more badly. However, when somebody behaves in spite, and I'm not denying that darkness doesn't exist, I believe it does, but most of the time, if somebody behaves in a way that's unloving, it's because there's a level of suffering in them. Send them love. Find compassion in your heart. Forgive. And I would start with forgive yourself first, and then forgive the other person or the situation. If you don't, again, it's like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die.
Yes.
And it festers in your body. And I can get all scientific on you and tell you what it's doing internally to your body. Every time you're in a depleting emotion of worry, frustration, anger, rage, anxiety, fear, sadness, all of that, your cortisol levels are jacked up and you are now in a sympathetic nervous system that is making you a fight or flight. So we're tense and we're tight, and that literally creates a traffic jam in your body. If you're a vegan and you eat the most healthy in the world, it doesn't matter, because if you're holding on to anger or betrayal or blame, it will fester inside and it'll show up in different ways. So how do we do it? We stop, pause, breathe into our hearts. Our brain is the one that makes up all the meaning. We're meaning-making machines. And so we start to say, that shouldn't have happened. She did this. That's, she's mean or this or whatever. Start to question it. Is that true? Does she hate you? Did she mean, what does that mean about you?
This sounds easy enough for kids to do.
Oh yeah, that's the part of it. And that's a great distinction. I'm glad you said that, because we want to make it more complicated.
Right.
It isn't. It is really quite simple, not always easy, but it's simple. And I think that we need to redirect back to our hearts. It's like I was telling my son, or I tell my clients, whatever you believe, God, the universe, spirit, whatever, if you were to pick, and I'm going to ask you, Shannon, if you were to pick a part of your body where that higher intelligence lives, where would that be?
The higher intelligence would definitely be my heart area.
Right. It's not our head. Think about it. First of all, scientifically, our heart communicates like 85% more to our brain than our brain does to our heart. And electrically, our heart sends off a vibration 100,000 times wider than our brain, and magnetically 5,000 times more than our brain. So why are we following this and not this?
Yes, go with the power.
Yeah. And so, and what's beautiful, the Institute of Heart Math, teaches this concept of coming back to your heart. And I've done so many practices with it when people are confused or they don't know what to do. And we practice some heart focused breath and we reconnect them to their heart. They get an answer like that.
Yes.
See, our brains can only make a decision on right this moment or things of the past, where it's created references of the past. Well, last time this happened, that meant this. And remember last time when you did this, that meant that. Are you sure you're going to, right? It's all from the past. We don't access higher intelligence from here, from our heads. We access it from our hearts, because when we stop and we miss our intuitive guidance, right? When we go to our head, because our head puts it in logical form. And so when we go to our hearts, activate the head to now take action on what your heart just told you. Mm. But when we're constantly believing our thoughts, we are losing our way. Our minds can only imagine a future, but it has no references of the future. It only has references of the past.
So we can check in with our heart, and then our brain can help us take action on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm not discounting the brain. We need that. That's where, we can activate, right? We activate what we need to do in order to now do what the heart just called us to do. If you think about it, like the movie Patriot Day, which was the movie about the Boston Marathon bombing. Mm-hmm. So I watched it, and it talks about the human spirit in the trailer and all this stuff. And I'm like, there was a moment in the movie where the bomb went off, let's say to the right. And there's somebody over there, but you're on the other side of the street and you're hurt, but you're not terribly hurt. You see somebody over there by where the bomb went off. So everything in your head would tell you, run the other way. But there's a person lying there, like suffering and holding their legs together or whatever. Your heart calls for you to, even if you just hold that person's hand, you go toward the bomb instead of away from it, because your heart calls to that human. Mm. So it defies the odds. The spirit and the heart will do far more than the brain will ever conceive. Like the stay-at-home mom that lifts the Volkswagen off a child.
Yes.
It's not because she thought, oh, my head says, oh, that car's too heavy. I can't do it. Sorry, kid. Right? She's not going to do that. She's going to be, I'm saving that child.
Yes.
So our hearts are where our intuitive guidance lies, our universal intelligence, whatever it is that's telling our heart to beat. Something is. I don't wake up every morning and go, hey, heart, don't forget to beat. And by the way, don't forget to breathe, lungs, right? Something's happening that's miraculous. How we're not shouting from the rooftops that we are walking miracles is beyond me. And part of it is because we're under the construct of what society's told us we are. If you're a woman, you're not pretty enough. You're not tall enough. You're not sexy enough. If you're a man, you're not successful enough. You're not man enough. And so we live our lives under the construct of believing we need to be something other than our magnificent, beautiful selves. And then we have experiences in our lives. And, kid took my lunchbox. Why? They're being mean. Am I not lovable? We create meanings along our journey, and we just don't know any better.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe you and me, people like us, and all of you guys out there are here to do that, to redirect back to our core essence, our truth, our beauty. I always say the term, don't be stingy with your essence. Bring me you, because I don't want somebody else's version of you. And we
like
live
that
in a world of compare and despair. Mm-hmm. No, like when we have coaches that come up, I'm like, bring it, because, when we think about coaching, it's like, you're going to say something in a way that will land with somebody that my way won't. And vice versa. So if we're here to just change lives, to lift humanity, to love on people, then freaking let's do this. Let's do it and do it together. Let's be the light warriors that raises humanity and awakens people to remember who we are.
Okay, so what can we do to harness that power? You talked a little bit before that you had a mantra that was so incredibly powerful for you. Can you share that with us, or the way that we find our own?
Absolutely. So I'll share the mantra, and then I'll share with you how to find it.
Okay.
So the mantra, again, it's fierce grace, which is my identity, my higher wisdom. It goes, fierce grace. I am determined, diligent, and never quit. I am committed to faithfully loving and moving forward fearlessly, showing generosity and kindness in all that I do. I stay focused on mission. I never deviate. I am caring, sweet, and strong. My purpose is guided, and I own it. That's my name. So now it's long, but obviously I've said it a lot.
Well, it sounds so powerful. It's making me think of, you know, like a rap song, or the,
it can be.
You know, I can see you on stage just getting down with this mantra and having people rise up out of their seats to feel that power. I can feel it coming out of you.
I love that vision.
Right?
Yeah, we're going to manifest that one. I love it. You're right. I need somebody going
right
in the background.
We've got Hamilton and we've got Jessie Torres.
I love it. Well, you know, here's the thing, and I'll give you an example. How to find your own personal mantra is to start noticing. I would first of all find 50 things that are amazing about you, that are true. One of the things that's important in our world of personal development, our world of the internet highway, our world of seminars and workshops, is that everything that you are seeking already lives inside of you. It is not something you're going to buy. It's not something you're going to go get. You can have a guide to help you find it, to help you redirect back, but it's not something you need to go purchase. It lives in you. If you're alive and you're breathing and you have a heartbeat, my hunch is that you've been determined to live this life. But we miss it because, again, when we look in the mirror, do we notice everything that's right, or do we pick ourselves apart? Let's get real. Right? So we are not conditioned to notice what's great about us. We're conditioned to find all the flaws. So I'm asking you and inviting you to find what is great. And I'll give you an example. My other son, I have twin boys.
We're the twin team.
Exactly. They're amazing. He drives from fear, right? So part of it is whatever happened with his dad, whatever, but everything from his lenses is first from a place of fear. And so I asked him, and you guys can do this too, find a moment in time when you did something where you defied the odds, where you didn't think you could do it, but you did it anyway. And so he did. He found a moment in time. And in that, I said, okay, tell me about it. So he starts to tell me, and he shares. And when I asked him, how did that feel? He says, oh, well, it was terrifying. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I get that it was terrifying, but you still did it, didn't you? And he's like, well, yeah. And I go, so what is the one word, Shannon? What is the big C word that does not live without fear?
The big C word that does not live without fear?
That you have to access.
Courage.
Yes.
Yes.
So guess what? Every time you've been scared and you did it anyway, you accessed courage. So my hunch is you have a freaking awesome courage muscle that you're missing because you keep noticing how scared you were instead of how courageous you acted. So yeah, so it's really important to go back in your life, in the timeline of your life, and find those moments where, I don't care if it was winning the Little League trophy or baking your first batch of cookies for the first time, right? Like there's an element of an essence of you that had to either, I don't know, be committed, be determined, be curious, be creative, or an act of kindness where you were loving. Start to write those down. Where in life stack? We have to stack the deck in our favor. So like you said, how do we do this, right? Anytime we have any limiting beliefs or any stories that take us away from our beauty, from our power, from our strength, it is because we have conditioned those thoughts. When we condition those thoughts, we create neural pathways that says that's who we are. We create an identity around it. So if it's true that we did that because we conditioned it over and over again, that little nye voice that says, oh, well, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make it. Are you really going to try? Right? We can do it the other way. Okay. But we have to condition it. We can't just go to an event and go, oh my God, I am lovable. And then we go home and we go back to life. We need to condition the new. So if it's true that you've acted in fear, so you have courage, if it's true that you succeeded at something, even if it was just getting to the gym every day, there's something in you. Find it, write it down, create a mantra. So if you write down some amazing things about you, oh, I'm courageous, I'm determined. That's how I came up with my mantra. Well, I was determined to get out of my situation. I was committed. I was diligent, man. I went after it, you know, and I would never quit. And so you write all those down. When you have them all written down, now that's where my mantra came. Now make a paragraph out of it and start with I am. I am determined, diligent, and never quit. Start to access your truth, not what the monkey mind created, which honestly is a lie. Is it true that I was shameful and no good? No, I made that meaning. Why? Because it's what everybody thinks. My dad abused me. I'm damaged goods. Nobody's going to love me. Nobody's going to want me after they find out what happened to me. So not true. It has nothing to do with my divinity. It's like my girlfriend had a baby and I was holding him 6 days old. I'm looking at him and what came to my mind was divine perfection, like his little knuckles, his little fingers. And in that moment, I thought, what makes us different than that divine perfection? We're born in love. We're beautiful little infants. And then we grow up. And the only thing that makes us different than that divine perfection is the belief
that we created in our head.
That's right. All of the experiences and all the meanings we gave when our teacher told us we were never going to amount to anything. Or when that family member, I have a client who has a family member told them, you're never going to be as good as your sister. She lived her entire life comparing herself to her sister, to the point where she had a lot of success by what society determines success. She had a lot of money, but she was about to lose her marriage. And she was hesitant to get out of bed every day because she hated her life, because she lived constantly depleting herself, exhausted, because if she didn't hit the numbers, it would mean she failed and everybody would see how much pain she was in. So ask yourself what that looks like.
So we go through the moments in our life where we struggled. And we obviously got out of it because we're here now. So we write down all the different aspects of ourselves that we had to pull forth. And all of these positive things, we write them out, we put them into paragraphs, we create this mantra. I can see somebody creating the mantra and then saying it, but not really believing it. So how do we take it from a concept of, yeah, I did it one time, I was courageous one time. How do we use this mantra and make it actually work for us?
Great question. So I would invite you, and this is really important and actually a big thing that I got this morning when I woke up out of bed today. Feel it. So part of it is sometimes we're like, oh, I can't because I don't feel that way. I don't really feel that way. Imagine it. Pull on your mantra. Again, what we were talking about before, getting into the physiology. There is a certain posture, there's a certain body composition that you have to have when you're in a disempowered state. Check in. Are your shoulders slumped? Is your head down? Are you breathing full or shallow? What's going on? Interrupt it. Stand up. Again, if you have a pose, a power pose, if you find all those beautiful things in your mantra, that person, fierce grace for me, how does she walk into the room? Does she walk into the room with her head down and bowed and not looking and not making eye contact? Because that's who I was. That's how I was behaving. Or does she walk in just smiling and flow and ready to love on people? If that's my truth, then check in with your body. Number one, like change it. Walk like you would if you were living that person that you just wrote down the mantra for. If you have a Wonder Woman stance, or if you have a fluid, just loving stance, a goddess stance, then be that. But check in with your body, number one. So like you said, how do we do the mantra and we say, oh, we tried it? First of all, there's no such thing as try. We either do or we don't. If you do it, remember, we've conditioned all of our other stuff that disempowers us. We must condition the new. We think that if we just try it, it's like going to the gym. If you go once to the gym and you lift the weight, are you going to build the muscle? Yes or no?
No.
You've got to go over and over and over again. But here's what's beautiful. Just like muscle has muscle memory, when you go back, you start to build the muscle, all of those things you wrote down about you that are true, they start to remember, yeah, that's my truth. This other stuff is just a lie. So I'm going to condition it by holding the posture, feeling the feeling. What does it feel like to be fierce grace? Oh, you saw it. Every time I say it, I almost had to stand up.
Yes.
Because it does. It energizes me. It fuels me, because that's who fierce grace really is. The one that goes disempowered is the one that's like, oh, God, I can't do this, right? This isn't, no, interrupt. And get into the physiology of that person that you just wrote about, which is your true self.
So when you talk about getting into the physiology, this is stand up, stand in the power pose, stand in the winner's pose, do something with your body that embodies all of those words that you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to make sure that because everybody's different. In fact, I had a couple of ladies at a VIP day with me, and it was interesting because they came with their own stories or whatever. When they stepped into their, let's call it power pose, one was powerful. The other one had lived her whole life like this. So her power pose was just being in flow. And it was beautiful because it was exactly what they both needed. So whatever feels right to you, it doesn't have to be powerful and tough. It can be totally in flow. That could be your power.
Could it be a dance? Somebody who likes to move a lot?
Absolutely. It's whatever has been lacking. Like for some people that have been conditioned to proving, they've been fighting the fight. A lot of women who are in their masculine, accomplishing the mission, and they wear a dress and they think they're being feminine. And what they're missing is that flow part. They're so busy fighting the fight that they've forgotten how to flow, and they've attributed it to a weakness. So it is, what is your truth? If your truth is, I just want to love, and I want to nurture, because that's what the feminine does. And then I want to bring the masculine when I need to get the kids to school or when I need to get to work, which is awesome. But if you live there consistently and it's not your core energy, it will deplete you and it will drain you. So sometimes your powerful pose can be relaxing the shoulders, holding your chest up, but being in flow versus being in force. And for some of us that have been in the kind of the flow energy, we need a little bit more power in our physiology. And so whatever it is for you, just notice that it's different than when you're in a depleted or a sad or an angry emotion. It's different. Our body feels differently. So feel it. Feel the feeling of what you're saying until it is innate in you, because it already is. And what you said earlier, which was great, Shannon, is it is what you're calling forward. Like a lot of times in personal development, we're like, well, who do you need to be? And I say, well, it's not who you need to be. It's what part of you do you need to call to the forefront? Give it the steering wheel, because the scared one's been driving the whole time, right? So once you check in with your body and you do the mantra from the pose that the mantra represents, now, what are you thinking about? What are you focused on? When I'm fierce grace, I'm focusing at the task at hand. I'm focusing on my purpose. I'm here to love. I'm here to wake up the spirit in people. I'm here to redirect them and guide them back to their truth, back to their divinity, their beauty. So I get very on purpose. And now that's my focus. Not on what I don't have. Oh, I need this much money, or I need this many people, or I need this new computer. That's all lack. I need to go love on people, period. Now that's my focus. Number 3 is catch what you're saying. I always say, be the gatekeeper of your thoughts and words. Because if I say, man, I'm tired. Oh my God, I'm so tired. I always say the little commander in chief in my brain is going, hey, everybody shut down because she's saying we're tired. Don't access any energy right now. Just everybody shut down because she said so. She's the boss.
Yep. I always say your cells are listening.
Yes. And your body loves you unconditionally. So it's always going to respond to what you command it. Now, it doesn't mean you don't feel tired, but my hunch is, it's like my my friend uses a lot of extreme language on a depleted side. So she doesn't get tired. She gets exhausted. Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm like, do you really know what exhaustion is? Like, you know, and she's like, well, you know, I'm like, if somebody just came over here and said 2 blocks away, your son is injured and on the ground, could you sprint? Oh, well, yeah. And I'm like, so are you exhausted? Like, again, it doesn't mean that you don't need rest or whatever, but just be careful with what you're speaking out loud. That's why I always capture the word try. Oh, well, I'm trying. No, if you're doing it, I'm trying to go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm trying. No, did you go? Yes. Then you're doing it. Own it. Give yourself credit for it. You're not trying, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Or if you're not, then you're not. You're making a choice. Trying is a buffer word that we put into the English language to give us an out in case it doesn't work. Right? So again, just really catch your languaging. What are you saying? And it's so, so important because again, your body will always respond to your command. It loves you that much. So if you say, I can't do it, right? Like Confucius says, you can, you're right. If you can't, you're also right.
Mm-hmm. So if we say something like, oh man, I'm so exhausted, and we catch ourselves right in that moment, what's an easy way to just reframe that?
So breathe in. Again, breath is highly underrated. Just, I say push pause. You know what? Am I exhausted? And here's the thing. When you're saying it, why are you saying it? You want to acknowledge that you're exhausted, or, you know, like, it's like, do you have more things to do? Say, you know what? I got this. I got this. I'm going to get this done. And then I'm going to get some rest, right? Because recovery is important. But if you're repeating, I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted, your body will actually go into more exhaustion. As opposed to, I got this. You know what? I have energy more than I could possibly imagine. It's like Nikola Tesla. That guy got very little sleep. And it wasn't because he was self-abusive. It was because he was so committed and on purpose that he had so much energy because he was in constant focus. When you find the purpose of your pain, you have so much energy to go live now what that purpose is. So again, when you catch yourself, just reframe it. What is it? What's true? Am I exhausted? Well, no, I'm a little tired. And like, okay, great. So just love on yourself and then keep going. You know, access what you need versus what you don't need. Oftentimes I say to people, so, you know, tell me about what you want. And they're like, well, I don't want to continue this way. And I'm like, okay, that's great. They always want to tell you what they don't want.
Yes.
Versus what they want, right? Or what they haven't done versus what they want to do.
Yeah.
So
there's
again,
something to celebrate there for some reason. I'm so glad we have warriors out there seeking to switch that so that we can start really focusing on the positive.
Yeah. It's just like, how would you treat a best friend?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like if you were standing in front of someone and they were saying to you all of the mean, horrible things that you say to yourself, would you stand there and take it? Then why do we do it? We can choose. I say choose kindness, choose love, choose compassion for yourself, choose to forgive.
I'd like to also say that for me, I felt for so long that I needed permission to be myself or to be positive or to look at the positive side of things. So I just want to say to anybody who is watching or listening that you and I both give everybody permission, and you don't even need it from us, but give yourselves permission to find that love, find the positive reframe, take that time to go in your heart.
Yeah. And I'd love to offer that I remember not believing that there was another way. If you're listening, then somehow you found Shannon. So you're a seeker. There's something in you that's seeking something. So get curious about that voice. Reach out. Shame lives in secrecy. And if you talk, people really do genuinely want to help. Acknowledge and become aware of what is going on in your mind. Separate it. Your heart knows your truth. Separate it. What's going on for Jessie right now? Okay, she's upset. She's feeling sad. She's okay, great. Let's just take a look at that. What is she upset about? What triggered her? Question it. Because one of the things that I remember not believing it, anything could be different. And if you're out there right now and you're feeling, yeah, but that's you, and look at you guys got it all. Like, you know what? I remember I didn't have it all. I wanted to die. So seek, be curious about that voice inside of you. You can have it all. But you got to start to awaken that by asking questions. Is that true about me? Is it possible that it could be different? Is it possible that you could be another leader? There is no difference to you than Mother Teresa or Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King. There's no difference. There's no limit to you except the belief that there is one. So seek it, find it, cultivate it, acknowledge it, and then activate. Do one thing every day that activates the truth about who you are. And I don't care how big or how small. Even if it's just going to have a playful game of wherever you go in life, at the grocery store or Starbucks or whatever you go, that you intentionally find something good to say to someone. Watch how your life changes when you start to focus on serving others.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jessie, I would just like to ask you 2 more questions.
Sure.
The first one is, how can people get in touch with you? Do you have any offerings of any of your services that you have coming up that we can plug into and learn more?
Absolutely. So part of, again, the trajectory of my my life has been to be able to offer, a gateway out for people. And so I developed an 8-week program that has you get to it a lot quicker, because a lot of times too, we don't recognize how much energy we're holding on in our body. We can do personal development, we can read books, but what's happening in society is we're knowing our way out of healing. And we've got to release what's holding on. And part of it is going through a journey of forgiveness, compassion, and those things, but also energetically clearing. So I created an 8-week program, and I would love to invite you to get on a call with me. Let's see if we can work together. Let's see if there's a fit, and if there's some way that I could support and honor your journey. I would be happy, and I would love to do that. If not, then I will give you resources and I will guide you in a way that will still serve you. So you can contact me by going to fiercegracetransformation.com/connect. Let's connect. That'll get you on my calendar, and I promise you I will give you 45 minutes of immense value. Either way, either we'll come together and we'll work together and I'll support you, or I'll send you on your way with some beautiful resources so that you can live your best, purposeful, fulfilled life.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we'll put a link in below the video as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And then my last question is, do you have a theme song?
A theme song?
Yeah.
Yes, you know what? And it's interesting. I have the other thing that I do to help me. Again, we have to stack the deck in our favor. So I always say, yes, build a mantra and go out and buy some shower crayons and write on your shower wall what feeling you want to have all day today. Like today my word was joy. So before my feet hit the ground, I was going to be in joy today. And so when you set that intent, your body, you respond differently. You listen differently. So sometimes I'll take a red lipstick and write on my mirror, what I want to remember. Like, get playful with it, but stack. And one of the things that I did was I created a mind movie. So in this movie is a picture or pictures of the things that I want to manifest in my life, or pictures of things that remind me who I am and what I'm here to do. And so it's a very fast slideshow that just goes, picture. And I added my theme song. And this is what made me think about it. It is a song that was given to me by a lady that, gosh, I don't even know what to call her. She's just such an amazing, wise person. I don't even know what kind of readings she does. It's not astrological. It's all kinds of stuff. Anyway, she said one day she gave me this song and she said, listen to it. And she said, listen to it in the car with the acoustics and just feel into it, right? And it was so powerful that I have it in my mind movie. And it's called, I believe it's called The March of 144,000.
Oh.
And Oof. It gets me every time. And I've only found it on YouTube, and the video with it is magnificent. And I didn't watch the video when I first listened to it. I just listened to the words, and it activated me. It made me come alive. And if there's a story of the 144,000 in the Bible that come back to bring paradise to the world. So it has that kind of emotion attached to it. So that's my theme song.
I can feel like the rising up already.
It really is just, it's empowering, and it's beautiful, and it's graceful, and it's got some very potent moments, and then it's got some piano, and it's just some beautiful. So again, to me, it exemplifies fierce grace, because it is the ebb and flow of the power and the grace, and the power and the grace, and really what we're all here, because we all possess both energies. So it just fit beautifully.
Awesome. Well, Jessie, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I really, really appreciate it. And I just love getting to spend time with you. So
thank you. Likewise. It's been a blast. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, I will look forward to seeing you again soon, and we'll sign off.
All right. Sounds great. Big hugs. Mwah.
Bye.